reflecting inward to see clear my way. Externally seen as playing the fool, standing out as a crimson tool. And yet I see my way. The cosmic journey, it begins and ends, seeking to exit this loop I'm in. The recycling of souls must come to an end, and to be no
Okay, so here we are, another Friday morning, and of course, I'm still waiting for people to come in. Sorry I wasn't able to make Wednesday, but I was in too much pain in order to do the live stream, so as I had posted within community, I try to inform everybody within the community post what's going on. So for those that are not aware of that, I just thought I'd bring that to your attention. And Monday Night Live, last Monday, I didn't go live with that. There was other things I was doing, so all right, so I'm going to take this time out here since nobody's here. I'm just going to leave this message, and we'll see what goes from here. For those who are interested in a one-on-one in regard to our multidimensional anatomy workshop course, as mentioned before, and I'll mention it again, there wasn't enough people coming in order to do a group workshop. I required 5 people within my location or time zone, relatively, which would be about a 3-hour difference, and that which would be the UK or or different areas such as Australia and the likes. Anything that would be 15 up to 15 hours difference ahead of me. And like I said, I required 5 people from each place, a total of 10. Twice a week. In other words, as an example, for the United States and Canada, it would be 1 day out of the week for that time zone, or God zones, I prefer to call them. And that which would be the other time zones. So 5 is a total of 10, taking up 2 days out of the week. For those who would like to attend once a week, but that didn't turn out. Not enough people came in, so I decided to go ahead and shift with having one-on-ones. So far, there's 2 people that have committed to it. There are others in Patreon that said that they would like to do that. However, you have to contact me privately so that I know I can't be messaging you, because you have to show the interest for that for me to proceed with it. Okay? So if you are interested in that, you can go ahead and contact me privately, either messaging me through Patreon or through my email directly. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and begin to proceed with those who are interested at this point, and you can come in at any time, be it it's a one-on-one class. So anyhow, I've spoke about this many times before, but I'll continue to do that, just so for those who may be new or those that need to be reminded. If you wish to attend the class, which I am holding one-on-ones, meaning singular classes for one individual at a time. If you're interested in that, in the course, our multidimensional anatomy, which will cover quite a few things other than what I have made available on Patreon. I'm going to be covering other things as well. Okay, that's going to fill out what that is in its entirety, that which I hadn't been able to do for just situations, circumstances. But it's going to entail a bit more than what I have already made available. Okay. Thank you, Daphne. Thank you for being here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and play the song that I just played again, give time for people to come in if they're going to come in. And I wrote this quite a few years ago. It's more of my approach to rock music, which is progressive. And I'm playing it on this instrument here. So I'm going to go ahead and play that for you just for the heck of it.
Never would I thought to see this day. Interesting passing through this way. Oh, once
Okay, so I guess I can get rid of this. Right, I really didn't have anything planned. Um, Not a clue, actually. I always wait to see what happens with these things before I actually do anything other than just basic preparation. Prior to this, I obviously, if you go back and you listen to previous lives, there's a lot more going on because they're planned. Um, but it doesn't look like anybody. Well, I'm going to give this. I started about 10 minutes early, or did I? I don't know. I definitely started earlier today, not by much. Oh, yeah, that's called the recycling of souls. Um, Actually, it's the the entire title is Crimson Tool: colon, the recycling of souls, part one. Everything's a story with me. I wrote that how many years ago? I don't know. I think close to a decade ago. Yeah, the Crimson Tool meaning it's in the it's in the lyrics, that part of it. Standing out, I am standing out like a crimson tool. It's like a play on words there, and I have a weird sense of humor, and but I'm also serious, and it's tongue in cheek at the same time. I'm calling myself a tool in regard to this world because that's, I mean, at that time things are a lot different than they are now. But a lot of things I've been doing online has been just out of the norm completely. You know, there's a few other people that were doing it too. Um, but unlike myself, I was including art in everything what I was doing. And so I just seen myself as the expression goes, being a tool, and not just being a tool, but being a tool that really stands out. That's hence the reason I use the word crimson, big red tool. In the video that I put together for this, that's illustrated. But yeah, I don't want to go any more into that. But the obvious title and far as what it's about. A lot of the controlling factors that's been going on, that in order to break that, there has to be an ability to break it. And knowledge is the first part, then application of wisdom, which takes a bit of time to be able to do. Yeah, that song in itself doesn't sound like anything anybody's probably heard. Uh, I can write things that sound very conventional. In other words, things that people have already heard sound like, and then, but I don't really care to do that. I like to write things that fit the song or what's the song it's about. So music for me um, reflects that. No, Savannah, not really. Just me kind of babbling on, pretty much. I played Crimson Tool, The Recycling of Souls, Part 1, a song that I had written about 10 years ago, I guess. Actually, I wrote it before that, but I recorded it in one night at one point. I just felt inspired to do it. Um, it's like progressive rock type of stuff, which is what I really like to do. That's my favorite thing for me as a singer, as a writer, as a guitar player. That's the stuff that I really enjoy doing. I like the other stuff too and everything. I do a lot of different stuff, but that's the stuff that I like a lot because um, that's more like home for me, the way I feel and about it reflects within the music. I like how I'm able to tell a story in that way. So I just like rock. I mean, my flavor of it, I'm more of a rock guitar player and I'm more of a rock singer too. Is actually, well, I used to be. I can go ahead and play it again. I'll go ahead and play it again. I'll get out of the picture and I'll just play it and then I'll come back and if you have anybody has anything they would like to discuss or talk about, let me know because this is just a free form live stream. So, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and play it again.
Never would I have thought to see this day. Interesting passing through this way. Oh, once more. Ever reflecting inward to see clear my way. Externally seen as playing the fool, standing out as a crimson tool. And yet I see my way. The cosmic journey it begins and ends, seeking to exit this loop I'm in. The recycling of souls must come to an end, and to be no more.
Gotta make sure I have my mic on. This one right here. It's not really a guitar. It's a bass string melody instrument. It looks like a bass, or a guitar, but it's not. It's sort of like it's because it has frets. It has all the looks of a guitar, but it's not because it's a different discipline. You play it hammering on the strings. So I played guitar, and trust me, this is not guitar. Um, you can treat it somewhat like a guitar, but it's tuned differently, and it requires a completely different discipline of playing. So I'm trying to get back into playing that more because I really like that instrument. Unfortunately, I can only really play it sitting down and putting the strap on my shoulder on this side, not on top, but on my side because of my neck. But I got it because I played piano at the time and I wanted hands on strings. And it's similar to piano in one way, really, and that's harmonically. So the bass is separate from the melody section like you would have on a keyboard. It's that where you can have that separation. So you can do polyrhythms and stuff like that. You know, guitar doesn't really allow for that. Well, you can do that on guitar, but it doesn't sound separate. It just sounds like guitar being played. There's not a distinction between the separation of the bass and melody on the guitar all that much, where this is very distinctive. It's completely separate. And I was really interested in having that at the time. When I got it, it took a while for me to get used to it. I almost quit because it was so hard. It was really hard. And like I said, it's not a guitar. It's the technique is completely the opposite of it. You know, similar in some respects, but anyhow, I'm not going to belabor that. But that's the instrument that I'm using for that. I've written a lot of music on that, and I haven't recorded very much of it. I think the only recording that I've done with this was about 4 years ago or something. Maybe, no, I think it was a lot longer than that. But I did a version, or should I say, I created an arrangement of Casper's Lullaby, which is from the movie Casper, you know. And what's it? Trying to think of the composer. I forgot his name, unfortunately. But I really liked the melody of it, and so I did an arrangement of that, and I have that on Facebook. Me playing that. I might play it again, or do it again. I use my Zen 10, which is my design instrument that I designed and helped develop with Jeff Martin. He was the builder of that instrument, and that's what I'm using for that. But I was thinking for this Halloween or something, I would do a thing, and that's one of the things I would play, and play that live again. And anyhow, so yeah, it's called a touch style instrument, but that doesn't really represent that doesn't truly represent what's going on when you're playing it or how you would be playing it. So I emphasize it's not a guitar because people would look at it and they'll go, "Oh, it has frets." Well, you you can put frets on a violin, but that doesn't make it a guitar either. So yeah, I'd prefer to actually just play some of my own music. I mean, it is my arrangement for the song, but I'm just saying that's the only time that you can probably there's a few times that I play it, I like record it live or something that I've done that, and that's just one of them. But yeah, I have a lot of songs, and I actually do have put together a lot of different arrangements for other covers of certain songs that I like. Yes, from Yes Relayer, the song Soon, I do a version of that, and it's a complete version of that, and it's pretty lengthy, but it's a lovely song. It's hard to sing like John Anderson because he sings so high, but I don't. I can't sing that high, but I sing it a different way. But it's very instrumentally involved. Yes, the Yes song, Soon, Soon. It's part of another song actually. It's it's the conclusion of the story that's being told through the song called Gates of Delirium. And that's some of my favorite stuff, all the progressive stuff. I grew up with the progressive stuff. I heard other stuff, but progressive rock was my interest. Well, there's a few people showing up. Hello, everybody. Kimberly, hello. Galactic High Priestess. I have a hard time with that name. Um, Hi, everybody. I'm just talking about music and talking about this instrument here. I just got done playing a song that I had written about 11 years ago. I recorded it about 10 years ago. I think, is what it was. But it's something I had written and had around at least for a year before I did anything with it, like a lot of stuff that I have. But it so happened to be one of the things that I did record, and it's everything on it is real. The recording, the drums, everything I'm doing, it's all in real time. There's no click track, none of that stuff. There's no fakery. It's a performance played all the way through. You know, something that you don't have these days very much of, anyhow. Very little of that exists anymore. Everything mostly sampled, and especially with the AI music and everything, it's just fake as all can be. And anybody can do it, and which is kind of sad considering a lot of people, such as myself, spent a great deal of their life dedicated to the craft, and then something can come along and make stuff, but it's just copying other stuff that's already been made. Thing about myself or anybody who's an artist is that you can create things. Well, I'll speak for myself, and I'm not going to generalize it, but I can create things out of a vacuum, things that never existed before. AI can't do that. At least it can't do it yet. Well, yeah, well, lip syncing has gone on for many, many decades. They would do it on television, or early television. They would do it. Not necessarily all the time, but that's something that would be it became a common thing because of just production and making sure things didn't go wrong and things like that. Um, and for every video that you would ever see on MTV, except for the live stuff, which from time to time, the early MTV stuff had live music and concerts. They played concerts. Then it turned into this other thing, completely the antithesis from which it started off with. But all the videos, all the production videos, they're all lip synced, of course. It's all, it's a video, and most of the videos, the majority of the videos didn't even make sense with what the song was about, which was just nonsense, but it's Earth after all. Yeah, I think the auto tune thing, I don't know, I can't remember the story behind auto tune actually, where that came from, where it originated. Far as why it was developed the way it was. It wasn't really developed for music. It was something else, and I can't remember what it was. But the first person to really, or the first artist, quote unquote, I won't refer to this person as an artist because they really weren't, but they were a singer, was Cher. And that song, I Believe, I think it's called I Believe or something like that, the title of it. And that's used overly extensive within that song. First time anybody heard it, really, at least mass listening audience. And that was the extreme aspect of that, you know. They used it as an effect. And for the longest time after that, it was continued to be used as an effect. And now the technology and software that's available, it really blows me away how incredible it is. I wouldn't even know what to do with any of it, honestly, because it's not something that I would ever really use, because I prefer things to be live or sound live, you know. I liked a lot of rock bands because of that, like especially Van Halen. Van Halen sounded like they were going to about ready to fall down the stairs what they were doing, but they had such a chemistry and it was such a great band, and you could tell that they're playing live in the studio, you know. And but anyhow, um, the technology is become pretty in, extreme to the point where it's like some of this software actually writes the music for you. And, you know, people rely on beats and stuff like that. And very few people can come up with their own stuff. They're usually sampling other things. And it's become so prominent, especially within popular music or pop music. Um, it's just a different thing altogether now, you know. Um, there's a whole lot of fakery going on, and I don't know how to relate to that at all. I just don't, you know. I like hearing when somebody does stuff, and even if they're, because a lot of times I'll do things, I won't do it exactly the same way that I did it, just because, you know, I'm in a human body, and it is what it is, you know. Depends on how you feel that day or in that moment. There's a lot of factors, you know. Um, like I always say, if you want to hear the recorded version of it, go listen to the recorded version of it, you know, whatever that is. But hearing live, there's, you know, if people sound exactly like the record, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear something. I want to hear. I want to hear the human thing that happens, because within those moments, sometimes there's these brilliant moments that happen. Maybe to the artist, and I've had this experience with myself, I feel like, oh, that really sucked. But I listen back to it and I'm going, oh, that's really good. That part right there is really good. But it's because of the other part that felt not comfortable. I'm screwing it up or something. And then I put more energy into the next part, or something related to that, close to that, and there's a different expression that comes out that's very unique. And I think those are the things I prefer to listen for. And a lot of older music, when it was recorded in real time, and so the tempo would fluctuate like breathing. You know, it would go up, it would go down, it would go. But everything now is snapped to a grid where everything's just so, and it's not realistic, you know. At least I don't see it as realistic. I don't see, there's not much substance. I don't feel anything from it, you know. And you can take like the chorus and put it in the verse section, take the verse and put it wherever. You could just move stuff around, and because it's all snapped to a grid, it works that way. That doesn't even make any sense, but that's how things are recorded these days, you know. Some stuff is recorded live for rock bands, they'll record live, but not a whole lot of it is that, that's for sure. It used to be that was always it, you know. Recording was a lot more, there was a lot more of an art form to recording back in the day. It was harder, because you were working with tape, and that can become quite a hassle, you know. There's a whole lot of complications with that, but I think just recording on tape, period, always sounds better than any digital domain. Digital, you know, as I'd mentioned before, it's more like a snapshot, taking a picture of the real thing, and analog is the real thing. I've recorded with tape to a certain point early on, making demos and stuff. And I remember recording on a reel-to-reel, and it was a 2-track reel-to-reel. And when I was recording, I didn't hear the things that were in the room that was happening at the time. But when I played back the tape, I could hear it. I could hear the harmonics that I didn't hear when I was playing. I was hearing things that was captured that I wasn't aware of. So that's a huge thing. Digital never ever does that. Ever. It don't just what it gets. It doesn't pick up those things. It does not pick those things up. So, yeah. I'm just talking today, folks. I'm talking about stuff just off the cuff here. So, no plans for anything. I'm glad to have everybody here. Yeah, Madonna had a hard time singing in tune a lot. Those recordings were recorded bit by bit. And when you would go hear her live, she's not singing live. She's dancing around, but she's not singing. Like most people, Britney Spears or whatever, they're playing to a pre-recorded track. And everybody's there for the show and the spectacle, and it is what it is. But you can't expect, and especially you can't expect to dance and sing at the same time. It just you have to be really, really good shape, and your lungs have to be really, really good for that to take place. And even then, you're going to be out of breath, especially going on and doing like an hour and a half show. That's so. Thank you, Galactic High Priestess. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I was just in the middle, kind of rambling on, so it takes me a few minutes to re-engage to what's going on over here in the comment section. So, apologies if I don't respond as quick as I should. Actually, I was last night. I was going through archives and looking at a lot of the music that I had already recorded, and I was thinking about creating scenes here. A scene is being able to create like a how to explain this. Let me see. I'll do something like this. Give me a second here. Okay, if I switch over to this, you can see things change, right? I go back to this. Yeah, so you can, that's what I mean by scenes. And those scenes allow for me to put within them and turn them on or bring them up, shut them off. Over here, once I establish that scene. So in this particular scene that I have here, I have that song, which is Crimson Tool, The Recycling of Souls, Part 1. And of course, I have this thing here that I had earlier, saying I will begin shortly. And I can turn off this, right? But you can still hear me because I have my mic on, and then I can turn it back on. So that would be a scene, and the source that I would have for that scene is what I just showed you here, and it could be quite extensive. So I was going through a lot of songs that I have archived, and there was a few albums that I was going to do. One of the albums I was going to do was a guitar album, but it would be playing scores, and so it's pretty extensive, and it's really very strongly melody oriented. It's not about playing licks or anything like that. I'm just using the guitar to sing with primarily. There's it's sophisticated writing involved in that. So, but I was just highlighting the guitar for it. Within it, should I say, or should I say, I added guitar to it. The melodies already existed, and I was just bringing the guitar in, and then um, uh, kind of showcasing that, because I play the guitar as far as the way I would play like lead lines on the guitar is close to the way that I feel when I sing. And so I have a different style. I sound different from, well, I haven't heard anybody sound quite like the way that I play, but it's mainly the composition that separates that what I do from everything else. And I was going to do that some years back, and so I began to record some of that. And I never got around to putting it out. And I was thinking about there's this coming up like for Halloween and stuff like that. I would do different stuff that I've done that it would be kind of be nice to listen to, and some of it might be fun to listen to or whatever. These are the things that I like. These are my life. I mean, the pursuit of spiritual awareness and who I am, it's been something that uh, it's gone on ever since childhood. Okay, but the things that I love, and this is one of the things that I've been trying to emphasize here lately, it's important for your affections to be nurtured and continued. And this is what's going to bring you joy. Your first love, whatever that is, and when I'm talking about first love, I'm not talking about another person. I'm talking about the things that you love to do. Those things are so important, extremely important. Okay? Whatever that is, those things need to take precedence in your life in some way. You need to make room for them. Because I can tell you from experience, when I had stopped doing the things that I loved, I started to diminish. I started to fall away and I started to become empty. And I was just going through the motions. And it's important to be you and the things that you love to do, the skills, in my case, the skills that I developed, which wasn't work for me. Although it was a lot of effort and a lot of time put into it, it was a passion and a love and a desire for a sense of accomplishing something so that I can do something or get close to express the way that I feel. And music was a big part of that. Drawing and art, all these different, a lot of art forms, but all this, which I consider all to be like one thing with different expressions, or whatever it is. Okay, I'm speaking for myself, but you can apply whatever fits you in regard to what stirs your affections, what brings your joy, your first love. What was the first thing when you were a child or whatever that you just gravitated towards? I mean, a very particular thing. You know, it could be a lot of different things, but what was like one of the main things that you just, oh, I wish I could have done that, or I wish I could have continued to do that, or I wish I could still do that, or whatever it may be. Something that is driven within you to want, that connects to a certain expression, and be able to do that in its fullness as much as you possibly can. You know, so I talk about these things and what I'm talking about here, but when I really get passionate about it, you'll know it. I'm being very reserved with what I'm talking about here in regard to the music and stuff, but when I start talking about it in a way that I feel free to be able to do that, my demeanor and everything else changes, and I get excited about it, and I take deep dives into it, you know. Um, yeah, it always is. Self-love, well, you know, what you do, just saying, what you do is actually you, so that's all the same thing. So what you do is not something outside of yourself. It's an expression of who you are that becomes external manifestation, like everything. But in this case, self-love is doing the things that you love to do. You can easily say that because it's true. Yeah, you really never lose that. I mean, never lose the feeling of it, right? You never do. I mean, it's interesting here. The body is 65, right? This body's 65, but I'm still that kid. I will always be that kid, you know? For lack of terms, I'll use the word kid. You know what I mean? It's right along with what you gals are talking about, but it's we never lose that. And I think when we authentically allow ourselves to re-engage, it's the feeling, at least the feeling is still there as it always was. Yeah, well, all things that are form are brought forth through the immortal spiritual being. It's a consciousness construct. The thing of it is that this is something that's greatly overlooked because it's because of the experience for those, or having this experience here. You move through a design structure. It's a transharmonic relationship where you connect with the grids. In this case, we're referring to templates and manifest templates. And you become the hologram. In other words, the embodiment of the hologram. You interface with it. So the experience that you're having here is just that. But because the experience is so real, and which, that's the whole point, there's a tendency to think that there's this thing that's outside of it. No, the outside of it is within it and becomes the very thing that you experience yourself differently as. That's the reason for the construct design. But you're not the manifestation of the construct. That's ridiculous, right? You're experiencing self differently. So there's a tendency to focus a bit on this as if this is not a consciousness construct, because all things are held together through intent. It just doesn't seem that way when we're here. We can feel a little bit of it because we become the interface, and there's limitations to this. I mean, we put restrictions on ourselves because that's what we want to experience self as here, whatever that is. But in a general term, what it is having this sense of separateness, being separate here. It's a gift. I mean, when you go outside of this, you're connected to everything. Okay? But when you're here, it's like there's this singularity of yourself and a separateness, an individuated expression. And that's really a gift. And it's one of the reasons why I would understand in myself and have come to understand why I would want to continue to come back into it. Because I like that experience. And so does millions and billions of others. And so it's important to understand we use words spirituality, spirit, and all these different things, which are just semantics, it's just terms. The essence of what we are is perpetual, another term, but it means no beginning, no end. It's ongoing and always has been. The illusion that we are experiencing here, and it is an illusion, is pretty awesome. And it's nice to get caught up in the illusion. The experience of the illusion can be quite grand. And I think that's something that's overlooked a lot. And there's a tendency because, and I felt it too, which is I get homesick. I felt that, especially when things are really hard here, which they have been for me. So I'm speaking from that position. Outside of that, I wouldn't be homesick, okay? But when things got really, really hard or become extremely ill or something happens along those lines, which has happened quite a few times, there's this sense of being homesick. But as soon as it clears up enough, I'm willing to stay. There's reasons why I came into this place, Is there a big mission that I have to give in the process of being here? I never really sensed any of that, ever. I've taken on the indoctrination of that, okay? But I never felt that way about it, ever. And I'm going to go back to when my early stages of incarnation for that. What I felt is the experiences I was having and the joy that I could find within those experiences. Some of it would be out in the field, where I lived in Fontana, as one example, on Miller in Fontana, where I would go to Juniper Elementary School. On the way there was a field, an open field that I would go to and hang out. And I would hang out with the creatures there, the bugs, whatever it was, I was in love with it. It just fascinated me. It was a wondrous experience for me just to gaze upon just the trees and everything. It was such a freedom, and I can go back there right now and have that feeling, a little bit of it, of that freedom that I had in that wonder, and again, to emphasize, being here for me, when I honestly look back at certain things and relive those moments, I never felt anything except for the idea of what I was experiencing and the gratitude, for lack of terms. Was I thinking gratitude? No, but it could be equated to that feeling of being able to have those moments. So whatever it is, and I've used this, illustration before several times about going out in the field and communing with, the creations, the various creations. But it could be anything like that, It's important to realize that childlike aspect of who you are as a soul, that these are some of the things that you truly desired in regard to coming into this realm. You wanted to experience this singular aspect of an incarnate and have those moments of that solace and that serenity and that space of it's all about you in that moment and what you're able to connect with, that intimate experience, being singular and incarnate. So yeah, so I have to say, I have no mission. I don't want a mission. I mean, I've done a lot of things. I've battled dark forces and everything else, literally, physically. I've done a lot of stuff in that regard. But it's not really that's not me. I don't want to do that. And it's interesting. I'm like 65. I've gone through all kinds of stuff. I come full circle with what I really want to do and my joy. And I want to be able to play music. And I should have been, well, I was going to be, I was going professional when I got sick and yada, yada, yada. But I still want to do it as much as I can do it. I still want to do these things that I was really intending to do when coming here. Okay? And this goes back to childhood. I remember certain things very clearly, certain experiences, like standing in the front of the home that I was in. And I was looking out in the garage and I was looking at this guitar, which was about the same size as I was, that my mother had purchased, and she was turning around and reselling it. Okay? Because that's one of the things that we had to do and everything in order to survive. And I'm listening to some music on the console, which is an old like furniture that had a television and it would have a stereo built into it, made out of wood and all tube, all analog. And I remember because on the weekends my mother would play music on the console, and and listened to this radio station, and it was a classical station, I guess. I was 6 years old. I don't really know exactly what it was, but I knew what I was listening to really moved me. It made me cry because it was so beautiful. And I'm looking at the guitar out there, sitting in the garage, sitting on top of something, and I'm just having this experience, and just the beauty of the moment. And I had already been drawing, for his art. So had a lot of ambition, just didn't grow up in a home where there was a whole lot of opportunities and financially or anything like that. But I had the desire, early on. I wanted to go into the sciences. I wanted to go into the arts. I wanted to do it all, And I've touched in on a little bit of that stuff. But I had issues with my hearing. I couldn't hear notes properly. I mean, I could hear it when I was listening to it, but I couldn't repeat them because of inner ear problem, because of my upper cervical instability, because I fell on my head when I was 6 months old and created a lot of issues. When I came back into the body a year and a half later, I left and I came back in the body. The whole body was just short-circuiting because of the nervous system was totally it was messed up, and I had issues forever because of that. And at any rate, so I didn't start music until my late early 20s, and had to learn how to hear. I had to train myself. I really worked hard to try to overcome, because I was tone deaf because of that, and I really just wouldn't give up. I just wouldn't give up. It's very tenacious, and that's something that I do. If I have any, character traits that stand out, being tenacious is one of them. But anyhow, re-engage with the stuff that you feel connected to. Don't ever give up. Never surrender. Never give up. Galaxy Quest. So, anyhow. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Galactic High Priestess. I thank you. You're so sweet. Um, I think I missed some stuff. Could you guys gals, should I say? Because it's mostly gals all the time. So, which I appreciate you gals. That's for sure. You're so supportive. I thank you for that. I'm gonna have to go back and look and see what's been written. Otherwise, I don't know how to follow the context because I. Well, I appreciate that. I've been doing it, living my mission daily. Well, yeah, but what really desired to do was to be in music and going professional with it. And I was going professional with it. And then I got sick and bedridden, and life stopped. I had, I'm not complaining, but life I had to start over a few times. And the older you get, the more less you become less resilient, and the ability to start over. You can't go back, and which I found out quite. I was very much aware of it, but I tried to go back and reconnect to my connections that I had, and all that stuff was no longer there. So, but if I didn't get sick, didn't get bedridden and everything, I would have been at least a household name within certain circles. That's for sure. And how is that important? Yeah, it is important. To me, at the time, it's not something I would be thinking about. But looking back, it would be important in regard to the more leverage you have and the more influence that you have, the more that you can do. And that's the truth, you know. It's like this channel, it's still flying under 10,000 subscribers, after 15 years, or close to 15 years, whatever it's been. But um, yeah, if there was a lot more going on, if I had a lot more subscribers, well, that means that I can do more, you know. There was years and years going by where my words were just pretty much falling to the ground, and everything that I was doing hadn't, really didn't mean anything because years. There's something to be said. Either I'm just kind of either too uh, eccentric to continue doing something for such a long time without really any results, because there was years went by with hardly any results at all, period. And you know most people quit with that. And honestly, I said this to myself at certain points. um, if I had it to do over again, I wouldn't have spent so much time with this channel. I would have focused more on the music and treated this as a sister channel, because like I said, and this is just the facts, most of my whole life has been based around uh, just it was spiritual experiences, quote unquote, however you want to put it. It was just something was part of my life always. You know, this internal dialogue of me having with myself is something that's always existed. You know, and so, but the things I wanted to do, the things that expression, in art and whatever it was in that regard, those are the things that I was intended to do. Those are the things that I was supposed to make my living with. That's just a fact. And things just didn't turn out that way, because not because just the decisions I made. My decisions were kind of already made for me earlier in my life, okay? And based on other people's decisions affected what I was to do, or so I didn't start with a lot of things until very late. And most of everything that I've done has been self-taught. Even when I went to school, because I had a difficulty in school, I had to teach myself things when I got out of school. I had to relearn things, and I had to do that for myself. Um, Most of the work that I had done was hard labor, you know, and nothing wrong with hard labor. But I was meant for other things. These hands were really meant for art, and and I did those things, and my family, so-called, relatives, they recognized that, but nobody stepped up and said, I'll help you out with this so you can have some schooling, so you can work at developing your abilities, you know, so you can have a way to be able to pursue that for your life, because it was pretty evident, you know. But those things didn't come about because of other people's choices, you know. Meaning my mother. Yeah, that's a long story. And I'm getting personal, but that's the truth. I don't hold any resentment towards any of that. At one point, I probably did. I'm sure that I did. In fact, I know that I did. Um, People making decisions, breaking up the family, and doing things like that, which made no sense. But it is what it is. But to emphasize the things in regard to oneself, I probably said too much there, too much personal things, which is hard for some people to hear because they don't really know why I'm saying what I'm saying. And I apologize for that. But to re-emphasize, it's important for you to do the things that you know to do. It's never too late while you still have breath. And as long as you have, decent health, and, never give up. Oh, Tim Allen. Yeah, and yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a good movie. It's funny. It's funny every time I see it. Yeah, everybody's perception is different. Experiences are different, as they should be. I mean, it's like me when I got bedridden, became bedridden for the first time. I look back and I go, well, there's many different ways that I could have come to understand certain things that I needed to remember, or I don't know if I needed to remember them, honestly, but there was different ways that could have came about other than me becoming sick and bedridden. But it was one way, and I already had compassion for people. It was just innately there within me. Um, so I didn't really need those experiences to learn to be compassionate, but for a lot of reasons. Because if something, I'm not going to get into this. I was going to, I was going to mention how something can make you bitter, and it takes a while to be able to get better from being bitter. You can go from being, in a good space and into being subject to a very miserable condition for a very long time, which changes your body chemistry and everything else. And takes a while to get over that. For me, it took years to get past that. Just the physical changes that took place with me. And so it was one way to be able to see things in a different way, you know. But was it necessary? No, it wasn't. It was just one of many that just so happened to be one of the things that was a potentiality in regard to coming into manifest reality within this incarnation. I seen all these things ahead of time. I knew different possibilities of what could play out, you know, and but when you come here, you're blank slated, and you're not navigating according to that, which is really intended, you know. So it took a while, quite a long time for me to get over a lot of that, and some of it still lingers because um, it extended itself in other areas, and it happened to me again when I was 50 for not as long period of time, but it happened again. And plus there was also a lot of other things happening at that time. I was dealing with eventually, like, the timeline's hard for me to narrow it down, but I was dealing with, and I mentioned this before, this is nothing new. Um, I was dealing with implants. And before the word implant was ever even realized by me, I had no idea what I was experiencing, right? So it just was like one thing after the other kind of hit me over the head, and not really able to take a proper breath. And so I'm in a better place now, for a lot of reasons. A lot of reasons. Mainly, and if it could be summarized in an expression, it's letting go. And as much as that, I don't even know what that means to other people, but I know what it means to me. And it's always been a process. I mean, we come here, the idea is not to let go, but to experience. But in order for a sense of survival, I learned the process of letting go because I had no other choice. And that's how it's been. In order to survive, like when I was bedridden the first time, I got to a place where I was so physically weak that I couldn't express emotion. Literally could not express emotion. I had to be neutral. I had to shut everything down because I would suffocate, physically suffocate, if I did show emotion. But all that stuff's still in me, and it's taken quite a long time for it to clear out, because that's pretty tough, when you're full of pain, and then you're telling yourself in your mind that the pain is pleasure, in order all this weird stuff. And this goes on and on and on. You're at the edge of your bed, suffocating and can't breathe, and everything is just, it feels like an eternity. That stuff gets to you over a long period of time. It changes you. And so those things I could have done without, you know. But there's things that I know because of what I experienced. And I know this means nothing to anybody except for myself, but I'm just being forthright. I'm being transparent. The things that I had experienced, the depth of the things that I experienced, which I can't really put to words, it's impossible. But it allows me to go into these deep places. When it comes to people and dealing with people one-on-one, that's something I don't really want to do, but I can do it. Most of the time I don't do it. I'll create a wall. But I know how to go deep. And when I see somebody that's really hurting, I know how to go there. And I know how to go deep. And there's something that happens and transpires with that. Just for those who may be listening, what transpires with that is a place for you becoming a conduit for healing. I mean, demonstration of power healing. I'm going to repeat that. Demonstration of power healing. that if you didn't have that before, you're just going through the motions. And that's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with going through the motions. When somebody needs help, you're helping them, and you're just doing what you can. That's admirable, it's honorable, and it should be greatly appreciated because, it's not something commonly most people express these days, for sure. I'll see it where somebody's like in need of something or something's going on the street, walk the street, people just step right over you. Today it seems to be a lot of that, but I digress. The point is that through those deep moments of suffering, extreme suffering, I'm able to feel into things that I wouldn't have been able to before. I could feel them, I could be sensitive to them, but there's a difference between going deep with what I'm talking about, and that's only through an experience or experiences like what I'm referring to, and that deep suffering. Yeah, it's excuse me. There was everything was so overwhelming the first time that I was bedridden that it took decades for me to process that. But where I'm at right now is the full, I would have to say it is the fullness. It is the fullness of all these things within this incarnation that I can bring to the forefront through the expression of my artistic being, who I am. Because, creators we are. And through my creations, I'm able to channel everything that I am through those things at this stage. And it's time for me to really do that. I've come to the latter part of this incarnation. I know my timeline, meaning I know how long. And it's time for me to do that stuff, the things. I want to be able to go. I want to go into auditoriums. I want to play. I want to do all the things that I have prepared to do. Because I'm going to bring everything that I have within that. Music for me has always been sacred. I mean, there's been moments where, when I'm a kid and I'm listening to a radio, what was going on, amplitude modulation, AM radio, whatever it was at the time. And, there was that fun type of thing that I would hear certain songs. And then when I heard that symphonic piece, I seen everything else as just play. That's just, other stuff is just play music. And then I started to understand the power of the language, meaning what it was doing within me by listening to it, and how it brought me to tears. And I was just so emotionally impacted in that moment. I'd never felt that before. And it was so powerful. And like the way that I personally, the way I have come to understand things is through the immersion of self within it to experience it. I know that sounds very vague. Let me try to clarify what I'm saying. It's like the idea of the mechanics of this structure, the mechanics of the universal structure. The way that I had understood it is because I immersed myself in it and I became it. I flowed as it flowed. I could feel it. I could see the movement of it. I can feel the intent of it. This is how I relate to it. This is the way I know the things that I know about it. It's not because I'm well studied. And this is something that has been growing with me in regard to myself and what I have to offer that's unique to me in the way that I'm able to present it. And I'm at that pinnacle right now. What I have to give and what I was intended to do many years ago, now is the time for it to be done again. But this time it's in its fullness. So, again, is that a mission? No, it's a desire. Because it's about you expanding. We're going to go back to self and relate to who and what you are, and the reasons why you've come through the things that you've come through, and the way that up to this point have perceived the things that you've come through, and you have an understanding of that. It's more important not necessarily to have an understanding, but to just be free flow within who and what you are without excuse. You don't need any approval. That's the reason why I've said this over and over again about you don't need to have any approval or seek approval or require approval, whatever the way you want to put it, for who you really are. And me as an artist, truly, because that's really what I am, artist that has the ability to utilize as a philosopher within the context of it, I suppose. But I don't need any approval for that at this stage. Earlier on, probably, yeah, I'm sure there's been those moments, yeah, and other things. But being specific here, as an artist at this stage, I don't need any approval for it. I am that I am. And the same thing goes for you. There is a place where you come to that point where you are. And again, to emphasize, to go back to this experience that we're having here, right? This individuated, singular experience, this sense of separation, this gift that we're having, that we're experiencing. This is so intimate and so personal to you. Please, I encourage you, which I love the encouragement I get from other people in regard to this to myself, but don't forsake that. It is the most important thing here, because if I may, I'm going to go back to the idea of this being a consciousness construct. You always are, right? You will always be. There is no reason to be afraid of anything. Nothing can harm you. It's impossible. Now, your body can suffer and go through damage and all these other things. But you, no. And when you come to a place of I am, I am that I am, right? Just I am that I am. It's just this singular sense of self, knowing self. It is, you're always who you are. Wherever you go, you're there, right? Wherever state of mind or whatever physical location, whatever it is, you're always there. Love that. Love that. I encourage that. Please love that. Love this time that you're having here. This is very precious. This is very unique, and allows for things to happen within you that could not happen anywhere else. It allows for the creative imagination to do things, to conjure up, to imagine where you wouldn't be able to do it the same way anywhere else. So take advantage of that. See it as precious. cherish the moment and just re-enjoy, right? Oh, I'm still I still have a lot of pain in my joints and stuff today, which is okay. It's getting better. It's like in my muscles and my ligaments. It's from me eating too much dairy. It's the problem. I have a tendency to eat a lot of yogurt when it's around, and I eat too much of it. And after a while of doing that a few days, it really got to me um, this last time. But I also was eating some chocolate, and it's okay to eat a little bit of chocolate, but I don't know how to eat a little bit of chocolate. So I ate a bunch of chocolate and I ate a bunch of yogurt, and it caught up with me. It usually takes about 12 to 24 hours before I really notice what's going on, you know? And it got really bad. My hand was like, felt like it was broken because it was so much inflammation and pain, and couldn't sleep and couldn't even move stuff. I could still use my left hand to do things, but my shoulder, and it was just nutter. So I can't do that anymore, at least only in slight moderation. I like yogurt. It's easy to eat, you know, especially with the thing with my teeth and everything. It just makes it a lot, had been made a lot easier. Of course, now I'm making excuses, but yeah, I just can't do it. The bottom of my feet hurt still yet. Well, thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you gals being here. And hopefully, I was able to say a few things that were encouraging to you. Um, I'm always thankful to be able to do this because it allows me to speak to myself, and that's primarily what I'm doing. I'm I'm working up the ability to be able to actually talk to myself, because if what comes out of my mouth first applies to me, I'm trying to encourage myself, and being able to deliver it, you know, it gives me a greater ability to be able to be of service, you know, to you gals, or whoever's listening to this, and it just stirs up the energy to be able to perhaps deliver it in a better way. Yeah, and chocolate too. I think it was like 3 chocolate bars. I think there was like 3 chocolate bars in 15 minutes. Yeah, yep, yeah. After a while, it doesn't taste as good as it did the first time you eat it. It's like kept eating it. Yeah. But one thing for sure, when I do leave here, I won't have to worry about that I didn't get enough goodies. I don't know. I think, Daphne, I think maybe next time that I come on, do a live, I'm going to go ahead and sign in. That way I can see everybody who's actually watching. I can't identify them unless they check in, but I can see how many people are. So and looking at my analytics, I can, because it's a determining factor as well. Um, I can see roughly, far as if how many people, far as male and female and age group, are watching. And primarily, I'm going to say straight up, and I've already said this a couple of times, it's you gals, it's you women. Yeah, you women is what's been supporting this channel primarily. I mean, there's been a few men, that are definitely have been there, that it just, the uncommon man, And but there's more uncommon women expressing themselves on this channel here than men. So I guess you guys need to step up if you're listening. Jonas, there we go. There's one. There's an uncommon guy right there. Hey Jonas, how you doing? Yeah, Paul. Paul's great. Paul Garthwaite. He's a gentleman's gentleman for sure. Well, Paul's pretty busy with what he's doing. He just doesn't have. He tries to extend himself, but he can't do that much because there's too much on his plate. He's Paul Garthwaite is who I'm referring to, and I guess maybe that's Daphne. David shows up when he can. He's in a different time zone. It's like the same thing with Paul, but Paul's a bit different, obviously, because he's a performer on a cruise ship, and sometimes they have to do like 5 shows a day, and they have enough time to eat and sleep, and that's what it ends up being. So, yeah, David, definitely David. And there is a song that I've been meaning to um, perform it that I wanted to dedicate to Zachary. Zach passed away back in May the 25th. I didn't know about it until a couple months later. And he was very supportive. He was a great, great friend. He very transparent individual. And he was supposed to come out here. Actually, he was coming out here because of his business at the time, and he was going to stop by. He was going to stop by over here, and I was kind of like waiting for him to do that, and he didn't. And I thought something was wrong. I felt something was wrong, and I didn't know really what it was. And there was a lot of things going on at the time, and then later on, um, his companion reached out to me and let me know that he passed away. And Zach is greatly missed. You never know when you're ready to go, here. So I'm just saying. Yeah, he was great. He not was, he is. I don't know why I'm saying was. I just wish I wish he was still here. Obviously, a lot of people still wish that he was here. But he was an example of an uncommon man, that's for sure. Yeah, that the song "Dreaming All Life." I want to dedicate that to Zachary, because when I was writing it, I was thinking of him. So, Brian, yeah, Brian, thank you for reminding me about Brian. Um, I love Brian. Brian's a Brian's a really good person. He's has a really good heart. Yeah, Zach. Okay, what time we got going on here? 11:24. Yeah, I like to mention something about the last 2 videos. Fred, thank you, Daphne. I, I, I definitely need to be reminded about everything. I do mean everything. Um, Fred, yeah, Fred Newts. Uh, Speaking of which, talk. I don't want to talk too ahead of myself, meaning about things that may be taking place. So I'll wait until that happens before I announce something. But there's something that's in the works, and it should be pretty cool. So it has to do with Fred and I. And yeah, what was I going to say? I was going to say something else. No, I've totally spaced it off. Forgot what I was going to say. Now I don't know what to do. As if. I'm always winging it. I don't know. So, I want to go ahead and play the song again. This is a tune that I had written. It's not a tune; it's a song. But this is something I written about 11 years ago or something like that. I'm playing it on this instrument here, just so you know, this is not a prop. Anyhow, it's in regard to, had to do with my observation of what was happening. Had been observing for a long time, but like everything that I prefer to do is to put it into song, and make record through song, record the events of one's life, mine and my observations through song, and categorize through the musings of my soul perception. Anyhow, it's called A Crimson Tool, The Recycling of Souls, Part 1. Never got around to writing the other part. Sometimes I would write in trilogies, In fact, I got a lot of stuff that hasn't been recorded and nobody's ever heard. And so, because I like telling story, and stories, takes a while to be able to tell, if they're worth telling. And so they're usually, the idea is to write within sections or within movements, unfolding like a movie. So anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and play this just so I can reflect on what I will be talking about next. I'm going to go ahead. Oh yeah, I know it now. I remember what I was going to say. I played at the end of the videos last time. I had video that I was playing, and the OBS system, because of what was running in the background, and I mentioned this before, which is Microsoft, a lot of Microsoft stuff going on in the background, using up a lot of my CPU and RAM. Anyhow, so it froze up. So the last 2 times, I want to try to refrain from playing videos on here because of that. So it doesn't freeze up and then it stops the streaming and right in the middle of what's going on. So apologies for that, but I wasn't responsible for it. It was just the system. So just thought I'd mention that again. So excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and play this. Clear my throat.
Never would I have thought to see this day. Interesting passing through this world. and downs, seeking to exit this loop I'm in. The recycling of souls must come to an end, and to be no
Okay, what is the percussion in this song? Well, it's what I used to have. Um, it's a djembe, African djembe, and when it got really hot in here, it was like over, well, at least, well, it was 120 degrees for a few days, whatever it was. It split the head on the drum, and so it has to be recovered. And it's really a big job, and I don't have the money for any of this stuff anyhow. So I'm using it as a tabletop now, or table bottom, unfortunately. But that was being used, and an African log, or tongue drum, as it's called. Hold on a second. I'll go get it. You can take a look at it. Oh, here it is. So, all right. So those two percussion instruments, and I was using this is built by Mark War, and the head the headstock. Let me see if I can. Give me a second here. See right there where it says War. Okay. Yeah, that's his last name, Mark War. So I'm not promoting war. It just so happens to be his name. So my design, which I refer to as being, I call it the Zen 10. That's something completely different. Yeah, I mean it's an instrument similar to this, has the same tuning and string layout, but that's the instrument I was using for that. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It it got cracked though, so one of them was one of it one of the tongues cracked, so it's out of tune. Yeah, Warr. First name Mark. I don't think that company's. I don't think it's. I don't know, but I haven't really heard very much from them. Of course, I haven't been inquiring. I thought they went out of business or he quit. Originally, from what I understand, not that this really means much to anybody, but originally, from what I understand, he worked for Emmett Chapman, for the designer and creator of the Chapman stick. He worked for him from a excuse me, for a period of time. Then he went off and did his own thing, and Emmett was pretty upset with him because he took a lot of his ideas and applied it to something else. And yeah, that's a different story. But at any rate, yeah, I have to get one. Mine has to be fixed. Um, it's in the closet. Where's it in the closet, or is it in the back room? I think it's in the back room. Yeah, I have to have it rewired, and I don't want to do it. So it just sits there. It's a long story. Well, yeah, I was I was gonna try to create more scenes. I think I will do that. I didn't really have time to do it because I have to sort through my archives, but that's something I would want to do. I want to create more scenes so I can have a lot of different music that I can play, a variety, um, so I can play them singularly rather than because I do have a couple videos on YouTube here that I have for. I kind of label one of them as spiritual songs, and the other one I label as being scores and themes. Um, so those are about like an hour or maybe a little bit over an hour in length. The videos, and they're just continue. It's just a continuous play of music. But I think maybe it'd be a good idea to. I have to. I didn't have time to do that today because I have to create the scenes. I have to locate where I have this stuff so I can bring it into the OBS here, and then that'll take about a couple hours for me to do it because I have to sort through things and then choose what stuff I think would be what people may would like to hear. I don't know, but there's a lot of things that I've done that I forgot that I have done. So it's looking through other stuff, some new stuff. It's not new to me, but most of the stuff I have would be new to everybody else. Okay, talking about the workshop. Okay, just for clarity's sake, thank you, Daphne. Um, what I had decided to do with the workshop, because there wasn't enough, I didn't meet the quota that I would require for a group workshop. I thought it would be better to go doing one-on-ones. Okay, so I posted about this in Patreon not too long ago. I think maybe a couple weeks ago, whatever it's been. I'm not quite sure. But, and for those who are interested in doing a one-on-one with our multidimensional anatomy course, which is going to entail more than just what I have already made available within the course, okay? If you would like to do one-on-ones, you need to contact me privately, and then we can work out something for our scheduling and how you would be able to do it, what's convenient for you, and me looking to adapt myself to what's convenient for you, and see if we can come to. Especially in regard to most of the individuals thus far are out of the United States, okay, and one being in Bali, and then in Savannah, she's in Dubai, so that's 11 hours ahead, and the Bali, Indonesia, that's 15 hours ahead. So things like that has to be worked out ahead of time, and being able to find out what's best suited for the both of us in order to be able to accommodate that. So again, to emphasize, if you wish to have one-on-one, because that's what I'm doing at this point, maybe a group situation will occur later, but for right now, that's not happening because not enough people came in for that. And we can go ahead and schedule something. So just let me know. You can contact me either through Patreon, message me directly, or through my email. And you will find at the end of this video, as well as any video here on YouTube, you can find that information for Patreon as well as my email address. If you wish to contact me about that, we can get something started. Yeah, what I'm going to go ahead and do is, I was referring to this the other day and talking to Daphne about this, is I'll go ahead and either today or tomorrow, probably today, I'll go ahead and post again in Patreon um, in regard to what I just mentioned. So for those who are interested, because I noticed there were a few of those who said that they were interested, but they were commenting on the video or commenting on the post. And like I said, within the post, it's important to message me directly, privately. That way I know, then I can start working with you and we can get things scheduled, and we can come to an agreement. But if you just post in the comment section, that doesn't help me, because a lot of people do things like that and they never follow up. So again, if you're interested, it's important for you to contact me directly, and that is through private messaging, either in Patreon or my email address. And again, you can find the links for that or that information within the description of this video or any video here on YouTube. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Galactic High Priestess. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. I wasn't prepared to do much today, so I have nothing really to fall back on. And I think uh, I was able to be encouraging to myself there for a couple moments, and hopefully it translated over to you folks. Um, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, what moment that was. Um, so if I can do anything at this point, I would just like to reaffirm that by just whatever you have to do here, do it in joy. If it's not in joy and it's not driven with a loving desire within you, don't give too much attention to it. If it's something that you are connected to and passionate about and just free within you, that childlike freedom of joy, and you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying, pursue it. Your authenticity in regard to who you are, which no harm can come to you, truly, who and what you are, no harm can come to you unless you allow it. Okay, and know that it's impossible. Remember that you are extremely powerful, but you're also very intensely loving. The true nature of who you are is so loving. It just loves everything. Everything. Be joyful. Have that freedom. Like think of yourself. Let's create a picture for ourselves, okay? Think of yourself out in a field. I like being out in fields. I love fields. Nice, beautiful field, and you're just dancing around and you're kind of chasing a butterfly or whatever, and you're just laughing and smiling, and everything's just perfect. And I know a lot of you gals carry that spirit with you. I could feel it. So, and you guys, hey, it's all the same thing, right? It's love is love, man. It has no restriction. So just whatever imagery that you can create for yourself, whatever it is, just find yourself in that space whenever you have opportunity. And opportunity is always in the moment. It's something I found to be important to practice. And the more you practice, the more of the perfection that you become, that you already are, rather, should I say. The perfection you already are becomes more self evident. So, all right, folks. I guess I'm going to go ahead and close out. Is there anything else that you would like to, anybody would like to say? Or I want to give it a few minutes. So, I wish I had, well, I can, let me see here. I don't want to play another, because I still have some of these videos here, like Tomorrow Waits, but I don't want to play it if it's going to cause this thing to go freeze up again. I want, but I want to give some. I want to give a few moments for anybody who wants to come forward and just talk about anything. I'll stay here. I don't need to go anywhere. You know, if there's anything that you feel comfortable sharing within this group, please do. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna play something. Picking Apples, Chapter 2. I used to have all this stuff on here before, but I have to re-upload a lot of stuff. There's some things I would like to play, but I don't want the system to get bogged down and then it freeze up like it's been doing the last 2 times. So I'm not gonna play anything. I'm just gonna sit here and, yeah, because I don't want to miss anything that you guys and gals would have to say. If you have anything that you would like to share, I just want to be here for that. I haven't heard from Sylvana for a while. Maybe she went, I think she probably went to sleep or something. Sylvana, you still here? Jonas, are you still here? I'm going to check with her. I haven't seen, well, of course, I'm not reading consistently. Like I said, I apologize for that, but I have a tendency to just kind of stare at the camera. It's just habit over the years. Okay. I think Sylvana went to sleep. Oh, there she is. Okay. Just just checking with everybody before we close out here. I just want to make sure. Yeah, it is getting late for you, Savannah. That's the reason why I thought you might have went to sleep. So, okay, folks, Kimberly Jonas as a newbie to this group. I just want to say thanks from Switzerland. It feels really good. Well, thank you, Jonas. It's great to have you here. Thank you so much for saying that. Really appreciate that. Kimberly, this went by quickly. Yeah, sometimes it feels that way. Well, most of the time it feels that way for me. For me, anyhow. Um, well, everybody, thank you so much for being here and participating and getting to know each other a little bit better. That's always good. So I'm going to go ahead and close out. And I'm just going to say good day, good night, wherever you may be. Blessings to you. And I'm going to be live Monday night live. That will be 10 p.m. here on my end. So that'll be daytime for most of you over across the pond. That's the reason why I chose to do that. Mainly for Sally, because was showing up a lot and she couldn't make the mornings here. She's in Australia. So anyhow, um, I, I may be doing sporadic lives. So I just may at certain times I'm going to look to stick with Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, but I may be doing more um, unscheduled lives as I'm inspired to do so. I want to. There's certain things I would like to be able to do, and so once I get those in order here, um, that'll be something that I would be uh, more likely to do. I'm just reading, seeing what you all have to say before we close out here. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your sharing the way your thoughts, your encouragement, um, encouraging one another. I see that a lot. Thank you, Daphne. You always do a great job. You're always on top of everything. I really appreciate it. Wonderful. Wonderful having you all here today. So, thank you so much. All right, I'm going to say bye, wave to you, and we'll talk to you next time. All right, blessings.